So again,
let's get to the list that I think is kind of cool, but you might feel differently about it since you have to live this. There's a banned list
yes,
put out by the government,
correct,
the president.
literally.
12 names. Hey, these people are problematic.
Correct.
Do something with them. Put them in the laundry room. Right?
Absolutely.
So you're on this list along with who?
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, Dr. Rashid Buttar. Notice how I'm saying doctor. These are all professionals, heavy professionals, and roughly 8 others. And these are the people who they said collectively we have influence of roughly 65 to 70% of influence across the entire internet on the planet as it pertains to the virus and the injections.
Who put you on this list?
The United States government, literally.
Oh, it was like an individual.
No, they looked at the influence of each individual person, and they said they said they analyzed over 812,000 posts between Facebook and Instagram, and they said the top names of influence that are getting the most interaction, the most likes, etc., shares, happen to be myself and 11 others. So they said these 12 people are the most dangerous across the internet. You know, they call us the disinformation dozen. And mind you, this came out, I believe, early last year, February, March of 2021. And so far, virtually every single thing that we have said was going to happen has happened. So that's why now they're kind of trying to figure out how to get out of this, because you removed all of our platforms. That just makes it very clear. I was reaching 15 to 18 million people a week. Makes it very clear. Over 500,000 followers on Instagram.
Oh no, I'm trusting the government's math on why y'all should be on the list.
Absolutely.
What is up, my Ace Boom Coons? Today we are deep diving on brother Rizza Islam. As you heard in the beginning of the clip, there is a list by the literal U.S. government of 12 people, the notorious dozen, he called it, that are highly influencing the world with their rhetoric, as they call it, with their misinformation. But I do these videos not to make you believe what I believe, but to make your own assessment. I'm not telling you what to believe, but you be the judge. Now, this man has been targeted along with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., which a lot of you might not like. I myself personally like him because it just makes more sense to me. You know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a shit ain't adding up, so I'm making more sense of it on my own theorist. You heard? So I won't hold you. 69 days clean today. If you or anyone is battling with addiction, share your story. It is empowering. Be honest, and the truth will set you free. Jeremiah 17:5, damned is the man who puts his trust in a man. Yo, let's go. Trust God only. Here we go.
We just briefly talked about it. In I think it's Supreme Court now. There are 3 lawsuits regarding internet creators, essentially, and that's one of them. People getting pulled down for misinformation.
Correct. Because they started to pull down people that it made no sense why they would pull this person down or this group down. It didn't make any sense because none of the science added up. I mean, literally, none of it. And as a matter of fact, everything we said was going to happen, it came out, like I said, over 500,000 followers on Facebook, over 120,000 followers on, over 500,000 followers on Instagram. I had over 120,000 on Facebook, 149,000 subscribers on YouTube, 55.2 thousand on Twitter. Collectively, I was reaching 15 to 18 million people a week. And so they shut all of that down, which, of course, if you make money, for example, or do business online, that's devastating to your bottom line.
Income.
Right? But, of course, I don't do it for that. As my primary thing, but that is a part of the source of income. So it did affect, your brother, and that's how they do it. If you talk,
They cut your water.
they want to destroy
Turn your water
exactly.
off.
Turn your water off. Cut the
Ain't out our bullshit.
threat to them. The people who you should be listening to, but we don't want you to listen to them because what they're saying destroys our bottom line.
Yes.
So
Remove money from our
what were
pocket.
you saying? You said that the vaccine was some bullshit. I know that. I know that you said that. But you wasn't the only
Oh,
one
I
who
went
said
into
that.
full detail of it, not just just blanket statement, but into the actual science, into the fact that they did not do the studies long enough, into the fact that you have something called the PrEP Act, to where you cannot sue Moderna nor Pfizer if they harm and or kill you. The fact that there's something called the NCVIA, National Child Vaccine Injury Act of 1986, to where you literally cannot sue any pharmaceutical company that harms and or kills you by way of vaccines. Went into the science of the cardiac issues, or the myocarditis, pericarditis, went into the Bell's palsy, went into the menstrual cycle issues from the early data, and now they just came out recently.
Now they're coming out with them.
Went into the information about how it is affecting sperm production, motility, strength, etc. Now they're coming out and admitting it. I'm talking about left and right. And not only that, but less than 1% of all of the reports are sent into something called the VAERS system, or the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System, to where they literally send in the amount of deaths, the amount of heart attacks, strokes, hospital visits. The vast majority of those who took the shot are the ones involved in these cases, not the opposite way. So they said people who are in the hospital overwhelmingly did not take the shot, when that's not the truth. Overwhelmingly, the ones who are in the hospital did take it.
So you on them for lying?
Yeah.
Yes.
Come on.
Just calling out the truth. And mind you, not only that, but providing the solutions. Take vitamin D. Make sure you get vitamin D. Make sure you eat better. Change your diet. All these different things. And when you say exercise and natural immunity, they said you're insane. You're out of your mind. When it's like, wait a minute. The reason why we're alive to this very moment is because of our natural immunity. That's the fact. But they said that's insane. That doesn't work. Hybrid immunity. Take the shot. The shot has been.
Oh, you cut.
First jumped off, Moderna was at like $20-something a share.
Oh, yes.
That shit went up to $480-something a share, dog.
They made billions.
You know how much money that is?
Billions in the last 2 years.
See, you could have took your little time.
Brothers show up to the CDC, which I've been inside, and I've actually read data, and I've been in some of the meetings, the public meetings. They didn't realize that. I've actually met with the doctors and the scientists and the whistleblowers. These are the people who I work with, the colleagues on the highest levels. This is not supposed to happen, is my point. And you're for damn sure not supposed to get it to black people, not into hip hop, not into any area of real life where the people in the hood can get the information, where we can understand it. The problem is we are the number one most affected by this issue, but we were the number one least represented, number one less educated, so we didn't know what the science was, how to rectify it, or the solutions. But we're the number one victims of it. So now you have somebody who's giving you the information, the education, the solutions, and that's not what they want.
Gotta shut him up. Dog, and it was sold to us the most.
Precisely.
Yo, dog, I think Hot 97 and Power 105 didn't even have commercials no more.
See? Now,
Every fucking ad was a COVID ad.
you said
I
this is
didn't
independent,
hear,
right?
huh?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right.
Like, I didn't hear Mitsubishi no more. I ain't hear Coca-Cola no more. I ain't hear none of that. All I heard was COVID ads. The whole fucking station.
Bro,
that's all they played.
Place was having giveaway. You
think
come here and get the shot.
Giving
we give
chicken
you
away.
Lobster dinners, donuts, weed, joints for jabs out here over in DC. Joints for jabs, bro. I said, yo,
Dog, that's
who
not
are they
insulting.
promoting this to?
That's not insulting.
No, look how deep this goes. Free
no.
strip dances.
Oh, yeah.
In parts of Europe, they were letting you have a woman for 30 minutes.
In Amsterdam,
Prostitute.
they were allowing you to
that's
get
how you
get some.
Just saying.
Out there.
I mean, they gonna
That's
give me.
low.
I'm gonna give them a poke. They gonna give me a poke. We
Oh
even.
man, it was
I
low.
think DNA and clips.
His next statement is pretty powerful. I'm going to give you a comparison that they used to do back from the 1940s to the 1960s, if I'm not mistaken. This is where the show Mad Men came from. The show Mad Men, I advise you to go watch it. It actually has a lot of truth to it. They were paying doctors and celebrities in that time to tell people smoking was healthy. Nicotine was good for your health. Now, you tell me history doesn't repeat itself. Listen to what Brother Rizza, says.
And you know what? Let me make this very clear. The vast majority of our people who promoted it, including the actors, the hip hop artists, the athletes, etc., were completely ignorant of it because they were strategically lied to. They were brought skewed data that was lies, that were not true data. They were brought scientists. I'm talking about specific. There were pharmaceutical companies calling the reps and the managers of different hip hop artists, athletes, actors, etc. And a lot of them called me and told me, and that they turned it down. But I'm like, they offered them 50 grand, depending on what they would say. If you would take it, this is how much we'll offer you. Matter of fact, if you just say, trust the science, this is how much we'll offer you. I mean, this is how strategic this was. So I'm not gonna, get angry with those who did it because they believed what they were told. That's the main thing. A lot of people really believed it. And I understand. That's the difference between your brother and a lot of people out here. It's like, no. A lot of our people are not sellouts. They believed what they were told. Imagine if you don't know what the hell this is. You don't know. True. The majority of our people don't know anything about this. True. So when you hear from the churches being told, which by the way, the contracts for the churches happened way back in 2018, 2019 to become mobile injection sites. locations in their parking lots, just so you know. A lot of churches sold it. They said Jesus would take it. I mean, you had a whole bunch of craziness going on over there. Man. Okay, then you, I'm telling you, then you came over here, exactly. Then you came onto this side and you had different athletes taking it on camera. You had Fauci taking it with certain people. And of course, you had different platforms, black platforms that were strategically reached out to and told not to have me on, but they brought Fauci on. So you had a representative from the government come on and tell you to take it, but not someone on behalf of your own people to educate you about why you should not take it, or just ask questions, or do your own research.
Just give you some more information.
Just give you more information and solutions.
Here is the proof.
Tobacco companies are notoriously known for using some of the most outrageous promotional tactics to sell their cigarettes. But by far their most controversial ploy was using doctors to promote their products. Between the 1930s and 1950s, thousands upon thousands of radio ads, print ads, and commercials were made featuring medical professionals claiming that cigarettes weren't harmful, but actually beneficial to your health. Hearing this raises a few questions. What companies were behind these ads? How did these companies convince doctors not only to approve of these wild health claims, but also be featured in the ads? And most importantly, how did these companies get away with it for so long? To answer these questions, we need to take a look at 3 tobacco companies in particular. The first of which is American Tobacco. American Tobacco, the makers of Lucky Strike cigarettes, are credited for being the first company to feature doctors in their advertisements. But why did they use doctors in the first place? Well, in the 1930s, smoking was the norm among both men and women in the US, and even the majority of doctors smoked. But at the same time, there was a rising public anxiety about the health risks of cigarettes thanks to an alarming increase in lung cancer among the general public. However, at the time, there was no clinical evidence that proved smoking was the cause of this rise, which in turn allowed tobacco companies like American Tobacco to devise a sneaky plan to ease the public. And that plan was to recruit doctors for their marketing efforts to calm the public's fear of smoking being linked to cancer. Here's an example. In one of their ads, American Tobacco claims that over 20,000 physicians say Luckies are less irritating and that they protect your throat against irritation and coughing. These claims are, of course, complemented with a smiling doctor seemingly approving of what is being said in the ad. Nowadays, claims like these are ridiculous, but back then they were accepted as fact. So how did American Tobacco get away with claims like these? Well, the answer gives a fantastic insight into just how corrupt and misleading these doctor cigarette ads were. In the late 1920s, American Tobacco's president, George Washington Hill, was brainstorming ways to develop a reason why consumers should purchase Lucky cigarettes. With the ongoing public concern about the potential health effects of cigarette smoking, he knew he wanted to use some sort of medical claim to show that their cigarettes weren't harmful to the body. And so, with no real scientific evidence to back his claim, George insisted that the toasting process that Lucky cigarettes underwent decreased throat irritation. To prove this claim, American Tobacco's ad agency sent thousands of free cartons of cigs to physicians and asked them to answer one question: are Lucky cigarettes less irritating to sensitive and tender throats than other cigarettes? And so, with receiving a free pack of cigs and only having to answer one simple question, 20,679 of those doctors said yes. And well, that was enough evidence for American Tobacco.
And there you have it. History repeats itself. They're still doing it. They're doing it with food. They're doing it with medicine. They're even doing it with clothing, fabric. There is some very toxic fabrics you guys are still wearing and you're still buying. I'm just here to spread the message. Not telling you what to believe, but now that you know this, do your own research for entertainment purposes only.
For ways to expand their business, Philip Morris saw how much success American Tobacco was having with their medical-driven marketing strategy, so they decided to pursue the same plan. They started producing magazine ads that featured proven findings from doctors claiming that Philip Morris cigarettes also helped clear up irritation in the throat. For example, this 1937 ad claims that a report on the findings of a group of doctors found that when smokers changed to Philip Morris, every case of irritation cleared completely or definitely improved. But in reality, this claim was completely bogus, and the way Philip Morris manipulated doctors into agreeing with them is shocking. In the same fashion that American Tobacco won over doctors with free packs of cigarettes, Philip Morris was on the hunt to recruit physicians to get them on their side. but they put in much more effort to win them over. Representatives of Philip Morris would attend medical conventions year-round and set up exhibits where doctors could not only get unlimited free cigarettes, but also lounge around in comfortable couches and socialize with each other. Hundreds of doctors at these conventions would line up to receive their free cigarettes and talk to these representatives about doing research for Philip Morris. Now, of course, this entire ploy was a clear example that Philip Morris was trying to appeal to physicians and that they didn't really care about the medical symptoms of cigarette smoking. But their plan worked flawlessly. Their success in recruiting doctors gave them the ability to publish their ads in official medical journals, which was a huge win when it came to convincing the public that their products were healthy. But what would Philip Morris claim is healthy about their products? Well, a lot of their claims consisted of what was shown previously. Philip Morris cigarettes apparently cause less irritation to the throat and lungs. But as you may have guessed, the doctors, who are now essentially workers for Philip Morris, based these claims on some very sketchy testing. The main source of these claims was based on Philip Morris adding a chemical to their products called diethylene glycol, a chemical that apparently made their cigs more moist and less irritating than any other brand. The research behind this chemical, in which Philip Morris sponsored, was conducted by injecting the chemical into the eyes of rabbits and noticing the difference in irritation. This uncanny study apparently proved that the chemical caused less irritation, and even though researchers not sponsored by Philip Morris disputed these findings, the study became the centerpiece of hundreds of Philip Morris ads in magazines on the journals. As a matter of fact, Philip Morris was so deeply involved in the medical world that their propaganda convinced doctors to suggest to their patients who were suffering from coughs and other symptoms to smoke Philip Morris cigarettes, claiming that their cigarettes were less irritating than other brands. After hearing all of this, you'd probably think these ads couldn't get much worse in terms of manipulation and fraud. But it does. That's because a company called R.J. Reynolds took this strategy a step further and created the most notorious medical marketing campaign of all time. In the 1940s, R.J. Reynolds, most famously known for their Camel cigarettes, wanted to get a piece of the medical marketing success these other tobacco companies were having. However, they did so through a completely different approach, one that manipulated and romanticized the public's image of doctors to their advantage. R.J. Reynolds created a campaign called More Doctors, a campaign that claimed that all doctors preferred Camel cigarettes over any other brand. According to R.J. Reynolds, they conducted surveys nationwide and asked doctors from every branch of medicine what brand of cigarette they preferred. While this claim in itself is questionable, the main concern is that they asked these doctors what their preferred brand was shortly after giving them a free pack of Camel cigarettes, which of course makes the claim that all of these doctors preferred them completely biased and illegitimate. But regardless of knowing their wrongdoing, they proceeded to print thousands of advertisements centered around these false findings for over 6 years, and no one questioned anything about them. And so, when the 1950s rolled around, these three companies and many more were enjoying exponential growth and sitting on millions of dollars in profit, all thanks to their extortion of the medical world. However, by the mid-1950s, there was plentiful, legitimate research available that undoubtedly proved that cigarettes were linked to many harmful diseases. These findings completely wiped out the trust the public had in tobacco companies, and medical institutions across the US proceeded to reject any further funding provided from those companies moving forward. And so, in 1954, the last tobacco ad featuring a doctor was printed. And from there on out, the industry as a whole never used physicians in their ads ever again. But that.
All right. So, history repeats itself. Now, they stopped marketing and stopped using doctors after further research showed, and people complained and people fell sick. They stopped using this type of marketing. But do you think it stopped there? Do you think they're using these tactics in different ways, with different forms, with different products, with different shots? I'm not telling you what to believe, but history repeats itself. And I believe we're going to see something that we've been through in the past 5 years show its face, show its truth, or the truth will be shined upon it, and people are going to start. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there. You know what I'm talking about. I can't say it, but you know what I'm talking about. The truth will prevail, always. Back to Brother Rizza. Check this out. Pay attention. I'm about to go to some of his other videos after this one. This one was recorded in 2022, by the way.
Dropping, what were they already experiencing? What issues did they have? What health problems did they have? That's what it was.
Like whole hospice centers got wiped out. Of
course.
They were already on hospice.
And by the way, that's another thing.
y'all
Doctors,
crazy as
and
hell.
now mind you, now this is another thing I'm gonna tell you. Doctors in multiple hospitals were literally told to count every death as a COVID death.
That's true too.
That fact.
That's true too.
Fact.
So the numbers were exaggerated, lied about. The people who were dying from other comorbidities, other pre-existing conditions, all these other things, that was what the cause was, and the virus helped to simply exacerbate what they were already dealing with.
Yeah.
So
But
if
that
you
should be
went to the
taken into
actual-
account, no? You can't just be like, oh, he had cancer, he was gonna die anyway. Like,
No,
that's
but if I got stage 5 cancer, stage
what if you had
4
stage
cancer,
1 cancer?
No, I'm giving this is my analogy.
I saw
can't-
people with no cancer drop dead.
True. No. What I'm saying is, if somebody had stage 4, stage 5 cancer, right? You're already in hospice, and you contract the COVID-19 disease. You're already immunocompromised,
Yeah.
right? So it's a possibility that it's going to affect you much, much, much more negatively than it would some 19-year-old cockstrong dude. You know what I'm saying?
And
Of
according
course.
to the CDC's own data, anyone who is between the age of 0, a child, baby, infant, all the way up to the age of 40, is roughly 99.8% likely to survive the virus.
If they
But
don't
then
have
those who
any
get
other-
over 55 and older, into your 70s, etc., you're 98, or I believe 98.9% still likely to survive the virus. So the older you get, of course, more immunocompromised, you have more issues going on, your body's not working as good as it used to, etc. So that's scientifically sound. The problem is they weren't putting that information out. They were telling doctors to count every death as a COVID death. You had different medical professionals coming out saying this. You had politicians coming out saying this in Chicago, here in New York, etc. Count every death as a COVID death. Why? Because they were making so much money. You're talking about over 100 million doses of shots, then 200 million doses of shots that were being paid for by the government to be injected. These were not free shots. They were sponsored. Just makes it very clear. So they were sponsored shots, and then they were also making money as well. This is why he mentioned earlier they were making billions over the last 2 years.
Hundreds of billions.
It was interesting. It was an investment, brother. It had nothing to do with the pushing of health. If you meet with the nurses on the COVID floor, as I met with them all across this country, we had 2 sold-out events here in Brooklyn, where we had medical professionals, we had naturopathic doctors, we had nurses, RNs, you name it, who were saying when they went into the COVID floor, they knew about the other remedies to give the people. You had liposomal vitamin C, you had zinc, you had vitamin D, all these things that they're now admitting would have prevented a person from passing from the virus. Now they're admitting it. These are the things that some of them wanted to give the people, and they were told not to. Only give the shot. If you don't give the shot, leave. That was the other side of this. That's why they fired hundreds and thousands of medical professionals.
I understand the business side of this that you're speaking to, but I'm still on the deaths.
Humanity.
I've seen people with no cancer and no visible ailment, to our knowledge, just drop dead. I've seen married couples go to bed and she wake up and he don't wake up. Like, I saw this during that whole run. So I'm not doubting nothing you're saying, but how do you explain that?
I had during that time I had a niece fighting cancer. She was 7 maybe at the time, and my mother worked in oncology, dealing with cancer patients all day. One of which being my brother's father. Like I can't be like, oh, they had cancer, so
True.
fuck
No,
it.
True.
To look
Like,
at all,
nah,
true.
that's not-
To look at all of it.
True.
Yeah, you
that's
have to
not
look at
what's
all.
up to me.
Yeah, no, that's so. As I mentioned before, even with their own data, the vast majority of those had something already going on. But then there was that small percentage that didn't have, as you said, visible things going on. So it was possible. It was happening. There were some people who genuinely just did pass from that alone.
True.
But the vast majority, that wasn't the case.
Let me ask you a question.
I'll repeat, this was filmed in 2022. Okay, listen to this piece of information.
And many times it was intentional. Why? Because people in their own camps told them, and I'll say it on this point to make it very clear how they did know. You have someone by the name of Dr. Paul Alexander. He's one of the top epidemiologists in the world. He is the former HHS scientific advisor to President Donald Trump and Joe Biden. HHS, which is the Health and Human Services part of the United States government. They work with the CDC, they work with the NIH, etc. This is a colleague of mine. We both spoke from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in January of this year, exposing the different situations that are going on. He was sending emails to Fauci. He was sending the emails to Dr. Rochelle Walensky, telling them that the data that we have is demonstrating that it is not working. The data that we have is not okay. So, just to make sure we cleared that point all the way, Dr. Rochelle Walensky came out and admitted it, but she did it in a very general way. All right, she didn't detail exactly what they did. She just said, listen, there were some things that we did, we made some mistakes, and we need to own them. Now, when you say that to over 330 million people inside of a country to where roughly 200 million of them took a shot, at least one dose of something that you told them to trust, and now you come out 2 years later and say, listen, we made some mistakes, blah, blah, blah. Hey, it's all good. Water under the bridge. No. Hold on. You're not going to just
What's
graze
these
past
mistakes?
that. Right.
All right, guys, listen to this. This is probably one of the best pieces of information in this video. The video will continue, but listen to this gem. Listen. And it kind of ties in with my other videos. Make sure y'all look it up. The New World Order, the world's greatest conspiracy.
I believe there to be a team of people somewhere in a locked conference room that have to go over how many people we're going to lose in this solution and weigh it out and have to make a tough decision in that room.
You ready for it?
I thank the Lord that it ain't me, but somebody's in that room making that call.
Correct.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, since we brought it up earlier, I dropped something called the National Security Study Memorandum 200. Now, this was written by Dr. Henry Kissinger, 32nd Secretary of State under President Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford. It is called the Kissinger Report. It was declassified in roughly 1990, 1991, roughly 1.5 to 2 years after I was born. In this, it states, quote, depopulation should be the highest priority of U.S. foreign policy towards the third world, end quote. But it was not just for foreign policy and foreign nations, specifically the 13 initial nations that are on that list, chapter 6 of my book, but it also was for domestic here and at home as well. Once that occurred, they started to look at how to use food as a weapon, how to get rid of over 4 billion at this point, human beings on the planet. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is actual fact. This is documented evidence. You also have something called Global 2000, authorized under President Jimmy Carter, where they also were looking at ways to get rid of the population. All of this is actual fact. So when you say it is, there's this room of people that are coming together, yes, this is an actual fact. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's not something that some dude wearing a tinfoil hat is saying over here, in the water. No, it's real. It is very real. But the problem is we don't have the ability to confront high levels of evil because we don't believe we can overcome it. We don't want to see that there's something so big when the reality is if we stand up and we do things for ourselves, take care of our own people, take care of our communities, etc., we won't fall into that.
You know what I hear when you speak to...
All right, y'all. I'm going to move on, but y'all look that up. I'm going to give you 2 references. That one right there, the Kissinger report. I didn't know about the Carter report, but look up Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, and the New World Order. A little homework. Get back at me. Once you do, get back at me. Let me know what you find. It's a big problem. They want to get rid of who? How many people? Someone brought up a very good point. Today's culture, everyone wants to be right. Here's the problem with this brother right here. He is on a do not call list for the government, mind you. He's one of the 12 people that the government is classified as putting out false information. Rizza Islam, RFK. Everyone can agree that there is a level of truth to what he is saying. Everyone can agree that there is a level of truth to what RFK is saying. But here's the problem. And this is what they want you to do. They want you to debate. So they'll put out, we can all agree, we have some real true information and false information, but everyone wants to focus on the false information, which then you give it to one mainstream media, CNN, and you give the other information to Fox And then it just becomes a never-ending debate. Why can't we just focus on what is true, on what is head-scratching, on what is a problem? Like, some of the stuff is true, and they are not headlining it. They're not emphasizing it. They're not highlighting the true parts. All they want to headline is the false narrative. So this is why I make these videos. Make sure you make your own judgment. Don't let anyone make the judgment for you. Focus on what is true. Stop debating each other. Stop trying to be right.
Some of y'all get out here and you parrot revolutionary behavior.
Yep.
You think you know about this enemy until this enemy knocks on your door. Then you're like, I'm good at math.
Yeah. And your resolve goes away.
Yeah. You're like, I'm good at, you know what? I'm good at paint. And I'm going to just start painting. Shout out to the painters. I'm just saying, for those who get out here talking tough, and then they start changing their tune, like, yeah, you know what? I don't think I want to do this. See, again, it has to be in you, not on you.
Yeah.
Do not pretend to do this. It's not something that's a trend.
Yeah.
Even though it's trendy now to say, oh, I'm woke, or I'm a revolutionary. Oh, yeah, okay, that sounds cute. It sounds cute. You're not on government watch list. You're not on the Department of Homeland Security, which, by the way, I'm on the Department of Homeland Security's watch list here in Georgia. Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, I found it out, I think, 2 months ago. Said, I don't know how, but okay, fine. Right. FBI watch list, White House disinformation doesn't list. And now I'm on a new list that NBC just put up there. They said I'm in the top 6 voices where disinformation is concerned. NBC just did a new article on me about 3 weeks ago. And of course, we obliterated them. On me about 3 weeks ago. And of course, we obliterated them on my new episode of my podcast, Intellectual Extremist, because I find it to be very insulting and at this point very old. Yeah. It's just sad. So I'm aware of the dangers, but I'm also aware of the benefits. Some of y'all get out.
Are you guys getting why this man is on the FBI list or the government do not call list? All right, I'm finishing up. But what do you guys think of Brother Rizza Islam? Check this video.
To all of my brothers within the spiritual community, whatever scripture you read, do your best to understand that Satan is involved in all of them. He's involved in every religious group, every organization, every political, every social, every community organization. You call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. Those labels mean nothing if what you practice does not reflect the principles. So you can say whatever you want. I wanted to mention that because now we got to separate from the devil inside of us. We can't separate from the system because we got too much in common with it now. You acting just like the white man you say you despise. You being just like him. Calling yourself this, calling yourself that, but you doing the same thing that he's doing. I don't like that, bro. So again, the separation is not just from the U.S. government and all that, but it's the separation from the behaviors that they push on us that we have adopted, gone into agreement to, and perpetuate on each other.
That's right.
All the way down to rape, molestation, robbing, killing, and all that too. Yep. They did it to us first, and we're doing it to each other. See, to all of my brothers with the...
Now, I'm not telling you what to believe. But this is a post, case in point, of Brother Rizza Islam. This is the point he's been trying to make. And this is why he ended up on the list.
We begin with that breaking headline today. A Michigan doctor sentenced, being called a monster. A day of reckoning for the doctor who diagnosed hundreds of patients with cancer when they did not have it. Outside the court, the tears and anger. He lied to so many patients, giving many of them extensive chemotherapy, which then made them sick. So many of those families today coming face to face with the doctor as he was sentenced to 45 years behind bars. And you're about to hear what the doctor said to those families. ABC's Ron Claiborne leads us off.
Judgment Day for the doctor who caused so much pain. Victims of Dr. Fareed Fatah outside the courtroom where he was sentenced, hand in hand, then defiant.
45 years for the lives that he took. It just wasn't enough.
In court, the 50-year-old doctor breaking down, saying, I misused my talents, yes, and permitted this sin to enter me because of power and greed. But those words no comfort for Cheryl Blades.
I could hear him talking to my mother because I went to every appointment. So I could hear him talking to her and promising her to save her.
In all, Fata pleaded guilty to intentionally misdiagnosing more than 550 patients, often prescribing treatment for cancer that they did not have. He earned more than $17 million as a result.
Dr. Fata pounced on every opportunity to use a patient's body as a profit center.
One of the patients, 53-year-old Monica Flagg.
Stressful. It was extremely emotional.
In 2000,
We begin with that breaking head.
Monster. That man is a demon. Oh my God. I mean, if you're on a government list of people spreading misinformation, it should be a little more fair. I can go down a list of people who deserve to be on that list. For real. For legit reasons. We'll give you one more video and then we out of here. Thank you for your time. I'm not telling you what to believe. Do your research. Jeremiah 17:5. Damned is the man who puts his trust in a man. Last video, y'all. The voice of reason and logic. I think he's logical. I don't know. You be the judge. Comment. Subscribe, please.
Let me go ahead and quote verbatim a Jewish man by the name of Jonathan Greenblatt. He currently is the chief over the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, which primarily is to defend the Jewish people. He said, well, yes, I mean, there are plenty of Jewish people in Hollywood who have high-level positions, high-level executive positions. It doesn't mean that they are the ones running everything, okay? So let's put a pin in that, number one. And then number two, he said, well, I mean, yes, Jewish people did partially found and help to start up Hollywood. But still, it doesn't mean that they have all of this control. Okay, so let me just pause this real quick there. Speak the damn truth. A large percentage of those who have the highest level of positions happen to be Jewish. Yes, also those who help to create the very system that we're dealing with when it comes to Hollywood. The reality is the overwhelming control as it pertains to what happens in Hollywood is dominated by, should I say, Jewish individuals for the most part, as he said. But people don't want to say it because it's deemed anti-Semitic. Let me make this very clear. 7-Elevens are ran by Indians for the most part. Yeah. Oh, right? Okay, in Mexico, what do you have the majority of? Mexicans. In Australia, what about that? Australia, Nigeria. Yeah. Right, okay. Let's stop the cap. Knock it off. It's just people are afraid to say it because they say you're anti-Semitic, meaning you hate Jewish people. No, we don't hate anybody. We're just stating an actual fact. So that's the power structure that just so happens to be. And then are there some Indian people at the top? Sure. Are there some other white folks at the top? Definitely. Are there a few black folks at the top? For sure. There are different demographics. But who has the dominant overwhelming when it comes to their demographic? That's what it happens to be. And Mr. Greenblatt admitted that. So that's what Kanye was talking about. That's why he got hit the way he did. Because if J.P. Morgan Chase, if J.P. Morgan, Jewish, Chase, wasn't so powerful, explain to me, Brother Flacco, what would it take for a bank to dislike money? Why would they say we're going to freeze and have you remove over $100 million of your money out of our account when we live off the interest? That's how banks survive. Why in the world would a bank, what would make a bank say, take your $100 million and get the hell up out of our bank? This is before the Hitler comments.
Of course.
This is before that.
Of course.
No, I mean, really, what is it? Because J.P. Morgan kept Jeffrey Epstein's account.
That's true.
They kept a lot of other people's accounts. I'm trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and quote verbatim a.
There you have it. I don't know. What y'all think of the video? Huh? Do not pick a side. It's good versus evil. Simple as that. Love your neighbor, pray for your enemy. All that good stuff. I'm out. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Let me know what you want to see next. God bless you.